just been finished for a while.
It's so hot. Thursday. I didn't really sleep last night. All right, so we put in a big day of training today down at Donner Lake. We swam, we ran, we did it like 10 times. I'm exhausted. We got a little grub, then we got a little rest, and now we're gonna do a podcast, another Coach's Corner podcast with Chris.
She's gonna really just start cracking up.
I know. I don't know if I could trust you to just zip it. I'm gonna pull you on the mic. Don't worry, dude. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it was a fun day. It was a learning experience. But the good thing is that you went through the same struggles that I did the first time I came up here by myself. And
that's comforting.
Went through the motions. I was alarmed about all the things that you experienced. I experienced the first time, and I was worried too.
Yeah. Well, let's provide a little context. We're up in Lake Tahoe, Donner Lake to be specific, for a 48-hour training camp. And today, so we're at 6,000 feet of altitude. I can't tell you the last time I've been up in altitude, let alone trained at altitude. And today, we put in an epic day of training of swim run. It was the first time that we've trained together, except that one other time, but the first time that we trained together in the wetsuits, with the running shoes on, with the paddles, with the whole shebang in what was supposed to be cold water.
Yeah.
A little cold acclimation. And we trained from 6:30 to 1:30 or something like that. 10 different swim run segments all over Donner Lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so break it down. What did we do? Do you remember?
Well, we started off with a 3-mile swim, close to 3-mile swim across the lake from one end to the other, basically almost the full length. And then we ran back to where we started. Then
3 miles.
Yeah. We did a shorter swim, which was supposed to be a little shorter, but I got lost on time. And next thing you know, it was actually a 35-minute swim versus just a 1-mile swim. And then we ran once around the lake, which is approximately 7 miles. And then it started getting hot.
Yeah.
That was the first time. And then we threw in another few short swims with a few short runs. And then we finished it up with another long run around the lake.
Right. Was that 4? I can't remember how long that final run was.
Oh, it was 6 miles.
Oh, was it 6?
Yeah, because we swam
That's why
part
I'm so
of it.
hurting.
Yeah.
Right.
We swam part of it because we jumped in on that one end, swam to the beach, and then jumped out and started running.
Right. And we're both wearing these prototype Roca wetsuits that are cut off just above the knee and have full length on the sleeves, zip down the front, which is unusual for a wetsuit, have pockets on both quads where you can put a little nutrition or whatever you want. And we both had pull buoys strapped to our thighs with surgical tubing. And so this is how we swam, with the paddles, with the pull buoys, with the shoes on the whole time, getting out of the water and then running with all this this gear in what quickly turned into 80-degree weather, running in wetsuits at altitude around Donner Lake. And it started out comical, then it became excruciatingly painful. At least for me. I know you felt good, but I was chasing your ankles all day long.
It was black wetsuit, so in that sun. And then you had a swim cap on the whole time, too.
Yeah, I did.
So that made it extra hot. I finally had to tell you,
take
that
off.
Swim cap off while you're running.
Yeah. It was rough, man. I've been doing plenty of swim runs in the pool and doing it in hot weather, in Los Angeles, upwards of 100, 105. This was a totally different deal. Like at home, I actually feel good running out of the pool. I can easily throw down, 7:15, 7:30 pace with a rational heart rate, anywhere between 132 to 140. But today I was struggling to run 830 miles with a heart rate that was just skyrocketing, like in the 160. Like I never get my heart rate up that high. It was crazy. So I presume that is a factor of the 34-mile run that I did like 2 days ago, the altitude, the heat, and running in a wetsuit with all this gear. I'm hoping, but it was tough, man. It was definitely eye-opening for me and a little bit of an awakening, and I'm a little scared.
Yeah. I mean, well, we also shocked the system pretty hard. You just got back from an international trip, time change, sleep, and all that. And then we right away threw you into a 5-hour run, which turned out to be 34 miles for you. And then 48 hours later, we're here at altitude. So we've never settled you and given you a time to absorb the load that we've been giving you. So, yeah, I mean, a lot happened today, but I think it was a really good experience for you too. Also to see those numbers, know you can continue, suffer a little bit, which is what we will be doing there. And it's good for the headspace too.
Yeah. Normally, I would not have taken a 2-week adventure, literally a month out from a huge race like this, but that's just life. And I went to Ireland and I was in Portland, and I did my best to try to maintain some semblance of training when I was traveling, but it's not like it is at home, of course. So I came back, lacking some fitness. I mean, maybe absorbing the fitness, the training that I had put in prior to that, but really kind of taking a break in the middle of what should have been a really intense period of ramping up. So my longest run prior to those trips was about 2 hours and 40 minutes, and normally I would have stepped it up. You always have me step it up like 3 hours, 3.5, 4, 4.5, up to 5. But I went from that 2.5 hour, came back from my trip, and threw down a 5-hour run. Without that kind of buildup, I mean, I can do it, but it's going to rattle me much more than it would have had I more responsibly, acclimated to that kind of load.
Yeah, and in comparison, for the last few weeks, I have been doing that.
Right, you have been doing that.
Right, and I've also had some recovery in between, but I did the 3.5, then the 4.5, and so then the 5 2 days ago, because we synced up our training plans this week so that we come in exactly with the same load, same training, and so on, so that we could mimic everything here just right. And yeah, it's a different process for me.
Right.
And, also out of fairness, I've been doing this for years now, long runs, and you're sort of building into this realm. I mean, when's the last time you did a 34-mile run?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't even know. I was having some niggles and stuff ramping up to Ultraman 2011, and running was challenging for me. So I don't even know if I put in like a 40-mile run prior to that race. So I think it's been 2009 was the last time I put in like big time runs. So
you might have a recovery week next week.
Yeah, I know.
Just to absorb this shock to the system that we just did.
We're 3 weeks out. A couple observations on today. The first thing is, I thought the whole pull buoy strapped to the quad thing was going to be a pain in the butt and get in the way and just be annoying, but actually it was no big deal. Totally comfortable with that. And the idea of swimming with shoes and then running in wet shoes with socks, I was concerned about that, but we both found shoes that seemed to work well with our feet, and that didn't bother me at all. I was surprised about that. The thing I think I was most surprised, beyond what I already said, just being as difficult as it was today, was how hot I was getting. Like the rubber on this wetsuit, especially around the quads, is super thick, and it was a hot day out, and it's unbelievable how overheated you get running. I mean, it's like, who runs in a wetsuit? Nobody does that. It's like, that's what wrestlers do to lose weight, to make weight. You know what I mean? It's like insane. I was thinking
that a few times today as we were running around the lake. Some of those people must have been looking at us. Are those guys trying to lose weight or something?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a loop around Donner Lake, and this is high season. There's a lot of people here on vacation, et cetera. People are out on their paddle boards and boating and running and biking and all that kind of stuff. And here's two guys running down the street in wetsuits, holding bright orange hand paddles in their hands while they're running.
With a pull buoy strapped to their leg.
Yeah, a pull buoy strap, and I'm wearing a swim cap, brightly. It's like, I thought we'd get a lot more like strange looks than we did, and people are like, whatever, I guess, maybe that's just the vibe out here in Truckee. But
yeah, and anyway. I'm used to seeing a lot of triathletes up here from the years of the Ironman up here, and so a lot of people asked me today, probably about 6, are you guys training for a triathlon? And so I said, no, actually, we're doing something a little different. So
right. So what do we have left? What's your takeaway from today? What do we have to work on still? I thought we had like pretty good communication. I was disappointed that I wasn't able to hold pace with you, at least on the swimming. And, maybe that's just, for the reasons we've already stated. But overall, I feel like our communication is good. Like, we're in sync. I just have to bridge that gap a little bit more, I think, over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm not really too worried about your fitness come the day, because we just need it that day. We didn't need it today. The good communication, and I think we also have a good unspoken language of knowing that when you need something or when you don't. And no, that worked well today. I would say the thing that we both noticed was the hand paddles too, how much harder it is
really
getting
hard
back in,
yeah,
and then using those muscles after just having swum a lot. Of course, we stacked our day a little bit differently. Nobody's going to be doing a 3-mile swim to start Otillo, right? We basically did half the distance right to start off of the full Attila distance. So, but still, it is eye-opening how you have to be aware of that. And then I think the other thing we'll want to pay more attention to is our transitions. They were somewhat slow.
Yeah.
And these were
especially
easy
I took my
transitions.
cap off, and then how am I supposed to put my cap on, and I'm holding these hand paddles and like trying to get my goggles on, you know, it's like, that's a mess.
Well, we have to just figure, I mean, with that many transitions, a minute here and there will quickly turn into an hour, right? Because that time just adds up so often, so much. And then other than that, though, it went pretty smoothly. I mean, I know we're both praying for that cold water. Although I know come race day, we're not going to be praying for it.
Not that cold.
Yeah, exactly. And but there's just the learning of today and then applying it specifically for these next 3 weeks to really incorporate those last details that we'll need.
One of the questions that always comes up that people are asking me is like, how are you fueling these workouts? Like, what are you eating? And I don't often respond to those because it's kind of a boring answer. Like, I don't overthink it too much. I mean, we woke up at 5:30. I had a bowl of cereal, and what did you had? I think you had the same.
Yeah, I ate
a banana.
Yeah,
I had
me
a cup
too.
of coffee, and then we went.
Yeah.
And then we had some little bars that we chewed on at a couple of the transitions, and we made sure that we were drinking water. We used your pickup truck as kind of a home base, where we had some nutrition products there, but it wasn't like we were carrying, like I wasn't carrying nutrition with me or anything like that. Like we kept it pretty minimal. I don't think we
we gapped it pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think we also gapped it well enough in comparison to the race, because there it's going to be 45 to 60 minutes between those energy stations. And so I want us to be ready to just go that long and feel a little bit of hunger and know what to grab and be prepared as we're going into that. I mean, that's the things, those are the little details where we as a team working together, it's going to be real effective, because we'll be able to communicate, say what we want, know what kind of calories we're looking for going into each aid station, energy station, and then come out of it pretty efficiently. The minutes we're spending putting on caps at transitions, we might make up in those aid stations.
Yeah. I think Hunter McIntyre was the person who told me, he's like, you just got to keep moving.
Yeah.
Like, just keep moving, because I think you're right. The transitions, I think, are where people are stopping, or you're looking for your partner, or you get spaced out from that person, and there's a lot of pausing and looking around and fiddling around with your gear, and like you said, that stuff adds up. So minimizing that, I think, is going to be key. I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be
out.
fine. We'll be fine. And that's the fun thing, too. As a team, I can help you through that logistics time, right? Like, Rich, are we thinking of this? Are we doing this? We're just constantly communicating. And that'll be important with those shorter distances, 300-meter swim, 500-meter run, like that we're talking, and that we know what's coming up ahead. Not that we know the distances or what island it is,
right,
but that we know what we're getting ourselves. All right, we got a short swim here. Let's really try to stretch it out, push a little bit, and then recover on that next longer island. Or we're in hour 3 right now. We still want to hold back here a little bit. Nutrition, fueling is going well. We're well hydrated. Our strategy is X, and therefore this is what we're going to do for the next 45 minutes, no matter what the terrain or the water brings, because we just want to manage our energy levels pretty efficiently through the day so that we can do things faster when we're able to, when the road opens up, when the terrain allows it for us. Like you and I, bushwhacking like it will be, that's not our strength. That's where we need to get through it efficiently and not using a lot of energy. But then when the road opens up and we have some pavement or flatter trails or steady effort, then we can start pushing a little bit deeper.
Right. So we've been breaking open, like the looking at the website and all the requirements and all the stuff we got to get. Like do we each have to carry a first aid pack?
I think as a team, first aid pack, but we each have a whistle.
Yeah, we have to carry a whistle. We put that around our neck, right?
Yeah.
And what if you get into trouble? That's the idea?
For the safety of the swim vessels that will come and help you.
Right.
And it's nothing guaranteed, but it just helps. And remember the history of this race. you used to have to carry so much safety equipment. Keep in mind, when they started this race, you had to swim with a life vest, like the full ones that you used to have on a boat, right? And that you could barely swim because your arms are just sticking out the side, and it would take the swimmer's part of the race out of it because nobody can swim fast in that. And so they've reduced the safety gear over the years to that whistle, that first aid kit, and then a compass.
Yeah, the compass. That's the best thing. We were joking the other day at dinner. Like, I don't even know, like, what would I even do with this? Like, how is this going to help me? Like, I have
Siri,
zero
what do I do
orienteering
with the compass?
Yeah, like, which way's north? Like, I don't know what direction I'm going.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to break out the compass, I got bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, how about we'll just stay in one place and wait till another team comes?
I'll just blow the whistle really loud until somebody comes. That's my plan.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got 3 weeks left. What's this window going to look like?
We'll start pulling back here pretty quickly. I mean, we definitely need to recover from this week. This was a big week, and it's good to just have felt that fatigue and working our way through it the way we did. I mean, going through the difficulties of a steady 5-hour day, 5.5-hour day like today is important because it just puts you back into that mindset of just keep trucking, right? Like just keep moving forward. Don't overanalyze the pace. Don't overanalyze the heart rate. Just keep moving forward, right? You start doing a little bit of self-talk. And there's times today where on that, for a reason, I ran ahead of you because I wanted you to reacquaint yourself with that. And that's what we'll need, where you just sort of have that silent communication of saying, you know what, we'll just give him his space and his quiet time.
You were running ahead, and then all that means is I start looking at my watch and I start looking at my heart rate and my pace and start like flogging myself.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. I mean, yeah, obviously we got to absorb this training, and then, you know,
then we're 2 weeks out.
And then we got to do a little refining on the speed stuff, I would
Exactly.
imagine, and maybe work on some of the logistics around transitions and some of the technique stuff.
Well, we'll be doing some transition stuff, some trail stuff too. I'd like to get us a little bit more familiar with the bushwhacking aspect, which I've done some research, but I just want us to get even more unfamiliar with it. And I say unfamiliar because it's something that you can't really prepare for that terrain over in Sweden, but at least that we've done some running through that and see what that's going to be like. I mean, that's just going off trail basically for us.
So today we weren't wearing compression socks, and like I said earlier, our wetsuits just were capped above the knee. But with all the, you know, brambles and all the kind of stuff that we're going to encounter, it's been advised that we wear some form of compression sock, just so you're not getting yourself all scratched up. And I think they even have products that are like buoyant shin guards or whatever for extra buoyant. And like, there's all kinds of you can go down the rabbit hole on all this kind of thing.
And that's overall the big picture strategy, and it's been it from the very beginning, that our fitness allows us to overcome things that we really aren't familiar with this race, right? Of course, we could do it this year and then try to go back next year when we have some familiarity, and then you get more specific with it. But because we don't know the race, the best way to compensate for that, besides ask friends and get more input, is to be extra fit for it, right? And extra prepared, and for us also rested. Like, we don't want to waste fitness, leave fitness up on a Malibu Canyon run instead of in Sweden.
Right. Yeah, I think if we have a strength, it is that endurance base, you know, putting in those huge days. And the weakness is, you know, unfamiliarity with the terrain and what this race is all about, and just inexperience with this kind of event overall.
Yeah. But I mean, that's part of the fun, right? We're doing it as a team.
Yeah.
And
like we said from the beginning, we're doing this for fun, you guys. Like,
we're
this is not, we're not winning this. I mean, like, we're competitive people. We're gonna try to, you know, do the best that we can and like be in the hunt and all that kind of good stuff. But, you know, we're not delusional. And, you know, had this performance go, like, had that been my, you know, on my radar, like, I wouldn't have gone to Ireland. I wouldn't have done these. I would have had a different kind of focus going into this, but that's not my life right now. And, you know, it's cool. Like I said on Instagram, and then you chastise me because it's like, this is a team thing, you know? So my primary motivator is, I want to do well, but I don't want to let you down. You know, our destinies are inextricably tethered to each other.
Well, and that brings up a good point. It's the motivation that you've had over the last 6 months has been helped knowing that you're working with a teammate, right? And it's in a lot of cases with a lot of people listening, or just in general with health and fitness, is it's hard by yourself. But if you have somebody that you're not necessarily accountable to, but that you're looking forward to doing this with, it might be a really good thing for everybody just to consider, what do I need to get myself motivated to train more consistently? Maybe an event with a partner or a challenge with a partner, because it does help. And as you've probably seen the last few months, whether in Ireland or as you've been traveling or just getting up on some of those hard mornings, where it's like, I got to do this. I love to do it for myself, but there's a little extra, with that, hey, I'm racing with somebody, and I want to do well with them, for them as a team.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. I am a little bit scared after today.
As we should be.
I think it's ramping up my attention, like my sort of focus on what needs to be done between now and then.
Yeah. And back to what you said with regards to us not winning, I think in a lot of sports, it's somewhat, for lack of a better term, disrespectful for us to think that we can just train for 9 months and come in there and something we've never done. And these people have been training for years.
Right.
And
there's a whole circuit.
Exactly.
There's a circuit. These guys are doing these races all the time. They know exactly how this stuff works.
And so for us to say,
preposterous.
oh, we want to get top 3 or top 5 or whatever the number is, I think is not fair to the sport either. We want to make a good showing. We want to represent ourselves. We want to have fun. That's the key thing too. And, just have a great day in a great location at a great adventure. I mean, that's the ideal.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it has been fun. I mean, I think it's been a refreshing, reprieve from the grind of triathlon or just ultra running, because it is so adventure based. Like we're cracking up on the we have Burkle over here, Caroline Burkle. I'm going to bring you onto the mic in a second. But we were laughing so hard this morning on the dock, like you put your wetsuit on backwards first, and I'm like, how do I put this pull buoy thing on? It's like a comedy of errors. Like we're just trying to figure out, like, how do we do this? It's like, and we're 3 weeks out. It's like, yeah, we should have probably done this several months ago, or done one of these camps like every month leading up to this to be responsibly prepared. But I know,
it is what it is.
And there's something cool about just kind of letting all that go and just being like, it is for fun.
And but keep in mind, all this, we've gotten through it healthy. We're not injured, right? I mean, that's the hardest part. If you get too tense with this and too focused on a lot of this stuff, especially ultra endurance stuff, this is an 8 to 9 hour, 10 hour, 11 hour event, you can quickly push yourselves to something that you're not familiar with, that you're getting injured.
Yeah.
And that's our goal. We wanted to come into this fit, somewhat ready, right? Have fun and be ready to give it our best on a challenging, hard course. I mean, this place is notorious for being really hard.
Yeah.
Even the locals say, I mean, that whole archipelago out there supposedly is just bizarre. I mean, it's just really tough, exposed, different. And we're just going to swim and run across it.
Right. So it's called Uto, I think is the town. And when we arrive, the day before the race, we take a ferry to this island. It's an island,
the furthest one where we're starting.
And then all the competitors and everybody associated with the race camps out there, and we're in like tents or something like that. Like I still don't even know.
We're roughing it.
Yeah, we have
a certain feed time for dinner.
Right, and then it's a 4 a.m. wake up call, and then we do it. But we're sequestered. It's not like we're starting in Stockholm or something like that. Like we're out there in the middle of nowhere for this thing.
Yeah, we're gonna meet a bunch of great competitors and people, and it's, I mean, that's just all so unique, and it's a different adventure. Every piece of it. Like, can you imagine at an Ironman or an Ultra taking every competitor and sequestering them for 24 hours prior to the race? I mean, people would be freaking out.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of injuries, Burkle, get on the mic here for a second. Here, slide that over to her for a minute. So we have Caroline Burkle here, who is a former Olympian in swimming. Swam for the University of Florida, and she had the best intentions of competing at Italia with Italia. I'm going to get excoriated for not saying it right.
We need to figure this out.
I'm trying really hard, you guys. I really am. Caroline was going to be competing with Hillary Biscay former podcast guest, Ultraman world champion. But due to Caroline got an injury. You have a serious bone fracture in your heel.
Yeah.
So that opted you out.
Mm-hmm. It was the first time I heard the word calcaneus in my life. No, it's a joke, but yeah, calcaneal stress fracture. And
you showed me the X-ray. It's for real.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. And I didn't know about it until about 6 weeks after I did it, apparently. Mm-hmm. So I kept pushing it and running on
Making
it,
it worse.
You just touched on, not being injured and being healthy and going through something. This has been the biggest learning lesson for me. Just going through something and knowing now how to train versus not logging stuff, not paying attention, just running miles in the mountains without paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that Chris is really good about is tempering that desire to ramp up too quickly and being very diligent and erring on the side of less is more in terms of ramping up the running in particular to avoid just these very scenarios.
Well, and it's important too. I mean, obviously none of us have done a race like this, but it's important when you're in a position of endurance training that you're keeping your strength in these little places of your body that you don't even realize that you need strength in. So I've learned the importance of your feet throughout this process. So I'm like doing towel grabs and like golf ball grabs with my toes and things like that. And before I would have laughed and scoffed at that, and now it's so important. And so never underestimate the power.
Yeah. Well, it was a bummer because we had this whole plan. We were going to be all these crazy Americans going over to, meet this race head on. It was going to be you and Hillary, and then Hunter McIntyre was partnering up with your friend Rory, right? And then that's not happening either. So now it's just Chris and I.
Injured,
so now it's just Chris and I. The American emissary has been,
but look,
diminished.
In all seriousness, like you've said it so many times in this podcast, and I've wanted to say something, but I was really trying to be quiet over here in the corner. However, you guys, you nailed it with just not knowing sometimes is best. You may not know the terrain, you may not know the race, and sometimes I feel like going into something with a little bit more of a naive attitude, it's like think like a childlike mind. Like when you go into it with an idea and you have a plan and you know you're fit, and like you said, you have your fitness, it's fun. Like sometimes you can overthink when you have so much that you're supposed to be knowing and memorizing and all this. And I think the whole fun of it will be like, where are we going? What's going on?
Yeah.
Let's talk during this 500-meter dash across the...
No, there's something beautiful about that. It provides that space for just like fun and joy. Like I remember the first time I did Ultraman, like my crew is my dad, and like this other buddy of mine who had it's over Thanksgiving weekend, so it was really hard to find people to help you out because everybody has plans. And I got this ragtag crew of buddies and my dad to come out and like we didn't know anything, but that made it super fun, So I sort of look at this and through a similar lens.
And you remember that the most. I mean, sure, other races are awesome and you've got it all going on, but you remember the ones the most that are just like, well, here we go.
And it's cool that even though you have this injury, I mean, you've been walking around in a boot, you're not in the boot anymore, but that you were just game to come up to Tahoe for the weekend, even though you can't run, to like do the swim and just kind of hang out.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
I mean, I took swimming for granted forever. When I retired from pool swimming and professional swimming, I hated it for so long, and now I absolutely will never again take it for granted, just because it is something that no impact for the rest of your life. If you can do it, it's incredible. And there's nothing like a swimming high when you just are done swimming. Even today, that 3 miles across, I mean, that transition was pretty quick afterwards, guys.
Yeah.
But, we're all talking and having fun. That was sarcasm, by the way. We're all talking and having fun. And I was just like, you all went off on your run, and I'm standing there at my car, and I was like, that was unbelievable.
It was super cool.
We just crushed, 3 miles at 6, 7 a.m., and it felt like 20 seconds of time that just...
Although looking over and seeing backstroke was not fun.
Yeah, I know. Let's be clear. Caroline was way out front. Yeah, like just for the record, she's way ahead of us. And then she'd roll onto her back and fix her goggles. And I'm like back there going, oh my God.
I was doing backstroke at one point, and I see you pop your head up and just like start shaking your head at me. I was like, time out. You all have shoes on and a buoy. And I did not. I was totally shoeless. So technically I had an advantage. You guys were crushing it.
You're ridiculously fit. Are you one of those people that just never retired and you just stayed fit after your swimming career?
I took a week off. And I think I did Pilates during that week. But after that, I was like, all right, I signed up for like 3 Ragnar relays in a span of 6 months. And I was like, let's do this. I was lifting every single day still. Well, every other day. But I mean, but then again, you know, we can go on a whole nother topic with that. But maybe a little time off was needed. And this injury of 6 to 8 weeks. No, 6 to 8 weeks in the boot, but it's been about 12 since I have run at all, stepped foot even in that direction. But I think my adrenals are finally repaired, you know, and sometimes you've got to listen to your body.
Yeah,
I want a sign.
I want to do like a whole podcast with you because I want to get like your whole story because it's super interesting. That's not today, but I do want you to tell that story that you told last night about the adrenal fatigue thing.
There's a lot to it.
So with the waking up in the middle of the night with the sweats and all that.
Just drenched.
So like your whole swimming career, waking up in the night with night sweats.
I have photos of my bed sheets just drenched, and we'd send them into the doctors. And I'm not sitting here. No, I don't want anybody to pity me or anything. It was just one of those things that's alarming, and you don't know, but you got to keep going. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You got to keep going. I guess I did have a choice. You probably don't feel... I could have said no, but I don't think Greg Troy would have been super stoked with me.
Clearly it's an indication of adrenal fatigue.
100%.
But you may not even feel tired. Like if that's happening even in your... you feel good. Like I'm not overtrained, you know, but it's so deep because it's years and years and years without, you know, taking the requisite, you know, rest weeks or those down periods that allow your base to like reset so that you can, you know, have longevity in your career.
And then learning how to fuel yourself properly to repair those adrenals is huge. And
so having the stress fracture, you said, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said the other night, like just the other day was like the first night that you didn't wake up with bed sweats in like as long as you can remember.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, I called my doctor and said, oh my gosh, you know, and he's an herbal, you know, he's an unbelievable naturopath. And I was just like, I can't believe it. I just woke up without sweating for like 3-4 nights in a row. And it was weird. Like I noticed that I woke up without it, and it was exciting. But then of course, you know, you have that athlete mind where you're like, well, that means I'm not training.
Right.
But then you have to calm yourself back down and say, this is in 2 months, this is going to pay off. Like I think
it might be the best thing that ever happened to you
ever. 100%.
You're the kind of person who would have just dug your grave and just grinded until like 100%. Your body just caved in completely.
If I would have gone one more week on my heel, it would have broken all the way through, and I would have put 6 pins in it.
Yeah, I mean, like the image. It is like cracked in half your heel, and that's just from run. That's insane.
Yeah. So, and you know, I thought I knew my body, and I'm honor that, and I always have told myself, oh, you are so in tune with your body, and now this is humbling for me to take a step back and be like, maybe I'm not. maybe I need to be real with myself. And I think we all have a reminder in that, and your body changes every year, and you know, I'm not 20 anymore.
Yeah. And if you take that seriously, then you'll be able to go to a whole different level, I think, and you'll have much more longevity, and you'll be healthier, and you'll just be able to compete with, you know, joy and without that kind of fatigue. Like I mean, we're from different eras, but you know, Chris and I will both tell you, like I sleptwalked through my, you know, teens and 20s. Like I didn't even know what was going on. You know, I was so exhausted all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think I lost 15 pounds when I was done swimming. I didn't know how to do anything for my body. All I was doing was cardio, no strength training, wasn't eating properly, wasn't sleeping. And I don't think even a year ago I could have made that 3-mile swim without stopping 10 times and wanting to die. And today it was just like, it felt incredible, you know, and there's just something that, you know, and of course, like 3 miles 8 years ago would be a laughing stock when we're doing that for warm up. But now it's like, you know, when you're in open water and you just feel incredible. So, and it's no easy feat. So yeah, I think that, and also it's taught me a lot. When we're working with our teen athletes and working with them on injuries or overcoming things like that, like I have a whole new respect and a whole new understanding. So it helps me do what I do better and able to impact that generation to slow down, be patient, listen to your body, and learn how to listen to your body. Because,
that's
you
the
know,
key.
there's so many
yeah.
distractions
Learning to
now.
listen to your body. I mean, because out of
Yeah, here.
fairness-
So give it back to Chris.
back, Mike.
Slide it back here.
No,
Because I want to. It's a natural segue anyway. Because
But it's hard to learn the signals. Like we learn the signals in swimming over so many years, what to look for. Like for example, with your heel, that's not really something that you would have noticed because that's not an injury you would never get swimming. So it takes a while to learn the different aspects of listening to your body, and it's very complicated, and it's not a perfect science either. Many people will give you different inputs of what different things mean. I mean, night sweats, you can ask 10 doctors, they'll give you 5 different answers.
Yeah.
So, and from anything from nutrition to overtraining to, chronic fatigue, even going that far into the hole.
Mm-hmm. So in the course of your coaching, I mean, triathletes tend to be well-heeled, type A, highly driven personalities, and talking them down off that cliff has got to be a challenge when they want to just run and gun.
Yeah, on the one hand, I don't work with a lot of athletes that aren't willing to understand that, and that means I turn down, or after some time, some athletes just aren't willing to do that and we don't work together anymore. But I always quote to them that if you're thinking about getting fit, that'll be the easy part. Like, I can get you fit. Just be patient. We'll get you really fit, fitter than you've ever been before. But if we try to jump the gun on this, your fitness it's never going to materialize, right? We're going to be in 4 weeks from now, you're either going to be off the program, not logging your workouts because you feel guilty that you're not logging your workouts, right? And you're injured, or you're too tired, or you can't make it fit. And we talked about this last time.
Right.
It's like making it all balance as a master's athlete with work and family and life. You just have to be patient because the fitness is building. And again, to what Carolyn just said, is that's so many years of swimming and so on, that won't go away. Like you think 4 or 5 months, right? Well, oh my God,
It's
like
gone forever.
right? 2 weeks. When we took off 2 weeks once a year swimming in Germany, it was like
over.
Oh my God, like I'm gonna need a 6-month rebuild. Like you're like, what? No, but it's so deep in your system, and sort of what I was alluding to before. You took 5 years of lighter training, and it took you only 6 months to get back to pretty good fitness that you can walk in or walk out the door and run 34 miles with no real proper buildup. Now, we do have to be careful now the next few days that we don't. This is where the niggles show up in 10 days.
Yeah.
What you did on Tuesday, if we're not smart, something will creep up, and then you'll be really bummed, right?
Right.
10 days prior. So we really got to be careful with this window.
Yeah. I mean, because this is not the normal protocol. We would have built up much more responsibly. So they say you can't cram for an event. So there's a little bit of a cram here that ordinarily would not be the program. But in my experience of working with you, one thing that you always do is you wait way longer than even I, knowing you and knowing how you work. Like, okay, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to come on. When is the hard work? Like I'm ready for the harder workouts. You're like, no, not yet. You gotta train to train, and then you gotta train to train, and then you gotta train, and then you train.
Yeah.
But if you jump that gun, like you just see it all the time. People are getting injured because the lungs and the cardio, like that comes along quick, and then you're like, I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, but your whole body is a fine-tuned machine that everything has to work in sync to do the volume that we're talking about. We're not talking about a 2-hour workout here. We're talking about 6, 7, 8 hours, at a time at some pretty high intensities if we're getting ready for a triathlon or, this type of stuff. I mean, it's a lot on the body, and people underestimate just because they feel good today and tomorrow that they're ready during the weekend or whenever in 3-4 days to do it again. And no, it takes longer.
Yeah.
It takes longer.
Patience, patience in the context of years, right?
That's why it's endurance sports. It's a natural filter. If you don't have the patience, the best athletes will not be able to materialize. If you're patient, and you will get fit. and it will blossom more than you ever thought it would be. I mean, some of the signs that I always talk about with regards to fitness is when you finish a half Ironman or an Ironman and you recover in 10 to 12 days and you're excited to train again and you're ready to go, that's a sign of fitness, right? Not that I'm going to let them train right away, but they're that quickly recovered. They're not sore for weeks, or they're not low energy for weeks. They're not walking around and needing sleep and so on for weeks. They're just popping right back. And that's real deep fitness.
It's the awareness.
Yeah, the awareness. That's right.
Aware, yeah.
So right before this little jaunt up here, you were in Boulder and you were at the Endurance Coaches Conference.
Yeah.
So I'm interested we talked a little bit about the other day, but I'm interested kind of in what's going on in that community. Like, what are the coaches talking about? What's new? What's tried and true? Like, what is your relationship to that, situation?
He's putting me right on the spot.
I don't want to talk about anything you're not comfortable talking about. But
no, it's funny.
I think a lot of people listening to this I need a coach. How do I find a coach? Who are the coaches? They're poking around the internet. What's available?
Well, that's a different question with regards to finding a coach, because I get a lot of those questions too. But from a Boulder standpoint, I did not really take part because I really like to stay an outsider. And I talked to 2 or 3 coaches up there that I know and I'm good friends with. And they're very similar. They like to stay on the outside. I like to learn from different sports, my own activities, a lot of reading, a lot of input. I don't like to, for lack of a better description, conform to these rules of how to teach triathlon, right? I think after 20 years of coaching this and sort of keeping those athletes healthy, motivated, athletes coming back years later saying, man, I never felt as fit and healthy and non-injured as I did back those years. Now they can't train like that anymore with kids and life and so on, but that's the compliment to me, that they love that time, that they use that window in their time of life to get fit and healthy and carry that for years and years forward, right? And maintain some sort of healthy and fit lifestyle. But yeah, no, I didn't really partake in the festivities in Boulder.
Okay. So in the reading, like you said, you try to get your information from you're trying to stay up on what's going on. Like, has there been anything that you've come across in the last, year or two that's altered your perspective or that you've incorporated into your training that's different from maybe what you were doing 4 or 5 years ago? Like, has it evolved question. Or do you just...
It's definitely evolved, especially from a nutrition standpoint. It's evolved from a recovery standpoint, and even more the need of recovery and sleep and how we're doing our macro cycles versus the intensities that we're training, and also the importance of really separating athletes, that they do not fit any type of plan, which is back to the whole coaching according to conformed plans, right?
Here's your plan. This is what you
do. I found that no 2 athletes are the same. And one person with a little bit of intensity and a lot of endurance does great. And that same person that looks the same, has trained the same, has the same background, blows up with that. And it's just a lot of listening. It's a lot of communicating. And then, a lot of my athletes will laugh when they hear this, but it's also a lot of saying, you know what? Don't overthink it. You've got to get in these next 6 months because we've got to build that platform properly. And then we can start messing around with different types of training, because then you're ready.
Cool. All right. Well, let's close this thing down. What do we got going tomorrow?
We have a 2-hour trail run. We're going to head up to the Pacific Crest, which is absolutely gorgeous.
What's the elevation up there?
We're going to go start about 8,000 feet.
Oh, my God.
And we're going to go
6 isn't enough.
Yeah. But it's just so pretty. You have to see it.
I know. I'm so shellacked right now. The idea of doing a 14-mile run at like 8,000 feet tomorrow.
Well, it won't be 14 miles on trails, as well as with that elevation as well. It's too hard to do that. It'll probably be 11 to 12 when you get in 6 miles an hour when you're...
But we're doing these in our shorts, right? We're not doing this in a wetsuit. Okay.
But we will...
That would definitely get some looks up there. If
and a swim cap.
Yeah.
People think we're going to fly off that ridge. Yeah. And then we'll start with a swim in the morning. Nice, long, stretch-out swim. Full-on, just recovery. We'll swim backstroke, and we'll make her do like butterfly or something.
Right. We're going to have to. Yeah. And then when we get back, like we've been training in the biggest paddles available, and we're going to step it down to some smaller ones.
Exactly.
Which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I felt that today.
Oh, man.
Every single time.
I didn't think I would. I mean, swimming in a pool, I just crank with paddles. Like I didn't expect to feel that like lactic acid buildup in the shoulders and the lats like that. Cool, man. Well, I'm psyched to be here. 48-hour training camp. This is great, man. We should do more of these.
Yeah, these quick in, quick out. Let's just choose destinations around the country.
I got a 5 o'clock flight. What are we doing tomorrow? We'll get back down to Sacramento. We're all going home.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're planning Catalina too.
Okay. Yeah. There's lots of plans happening. We'll see what happens, you know.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah. Let's just get through this race, you know, first, and then we'll talk about what comes after. Caroline. Okay. And Caroline, will you come back and do the podcast with me properly, and we'll tell your whole story?
100%.
Awesome.
Down.
Cool. All right. Thanks, you guys. Let's try to do one more, maybe like when we're in Stockholm right before the race, and certainly after, if time permitting or whatever. I think that'd be cool.
Post-race download.
Yeah. So we definitely have to do that. There's going to be stories to tell for sure, whatever happens. So anyway, all right. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.